Hi, Internet. What you are looking at here is the optimum theory simulation of the unified theory of everything, and this is the Big Bang simulation. Earlier, I posted the inside of a black hole. I also posted the double slit experiment and a few other things. I think I also posted all four fundamental forces at once. And this is the Big Bang. And so everything you see here is being generated from a single equation. That equation has to filter through several different layers, similar to like I've equated it kind of like how our senses work. Like to make sense of the universe, we have our eyes, our ears, touch, and these things. So this data has to be filtered through various layers to make sense of it. But the entire thing is being driven by a single equation. The universe equals energy over space. That's it. That's all you're seeing. And in the other videos, I had it set up so it was denoised. There wasn't any noise or static. But how it actually looks in the real universe is more like this. It's more like a foam, a quantum foam. So as we increase time steps, and yes, this is running in a spreadsheet. I was doing this on paper, graph paper originally. I couldn't get it to run in something like Game of Life. So I was printing off graph paper and doing it by hand, doing the calculations by hand. And I go to Excel one day to print off some paper, because you can do that. You can print off graph paper from it. And I'm looking, and I felt so stupid when I realized that I was printing off graph paper from Excel when I could just be doing these calculations in Excel. And that's really how that started. And I like Excel because it's something that's accessible to a lot of people. Anybody can just use it. Most people who are of a certain, if you're educated to understand enough to understand what a cellular automaton is, then there's probably a good chance that you're able to use Excel. So I really like that about it. You can see that again, all fundamental forces are being modeled here. They optimize into discrete particles. Everything optimizes. That was one of the big insights of optimum theory, is that everything optimizes. So you'll hear that I mentioned this on 4chan. Someone sent me a link to 4chan. I've never been there before. First time there. And actually I really like it. I really like it. I like that it's not a safe space. You know, we live in a world of safe spaces, and it's not a safe space. It's like a think tank where you just kind of toss up your ideas, and it's impossible to really judge people for them, because you can't label those ideas onto somebody. It's interesting. It's a very interesting format. I really enjoy it. I'll probably be back now that I've checked it out. But someone sent me a link, and I went on there, and yeah, it's cool. And what we have here now, these are optimizing into the fundamental. So this is the fundamental forces. You're seeing all four fundamental. It's optimizing the particles. And if I seem like I'm kind of just all over the place, I'm exhausted. I was up very late trying to get all this stuff, get a bunch of stuff done. Just very exhausted. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But the next step, so it goes over here. This is a change function. So we're generating a change function because these two, it's actually running in parallel. It has to run in parallel because computers calculate sequentially, but the universe does not. The universe does not calculate sequentially. The universe calculates simultaneously. So what we have to do is we have to figure out a way around sequential calculation. And the way I figured out how to do that, I figured it out on my own. It was kind of a minor breakthrough, was to have these in parallel. So they're referencing each other. That way all the calculations are completed in simulated simultaneity, simultaneously. Those are then being subtracted here into a change function, and then these get filtered down through here, and then through concatenation. Am I pronouncing that right? It turns into a vector field. And it will just continue on forever. It never reaches equilibrium. And it is infinite, simulated infinity. So the energy pressure is, it's going off the grid and then coming right in from the other side. So I had to figure out how to do that, and so I did. So it's actually referencing opposite sides. And referencing opposite sides. Oh, so that's infinite largeness. Infinite largeness. So then here was a big breakthrough. And this is something that I posted on 4chan. Is that where I was going originally? I know I lost my train of thought earlier on 4chan. I'm really tired. You have to simulate infinite smallness. That was one of the big insights here. It's called hierarchical nesting of matter. So simulating infinite smallness. So when I say the equation of everything is energy over space, there is no limit to that. That is being calculated at all points of infinity. So you really think it's really infinite energy over infinite space. All four forces are being calculated here. Particles, strong nuclear force. These particles are decaying, but then new ones get created, and so you can see particle decaying here. They attract each other. You can see they've attracted each other over here. So they also have a barrier. They can't get too close, and yet they attract each other. So it's interesting. They attract each other, but then they can't get too close because of this barrier. And so it turns out what is gravity? Well, it turns out, according to this equation, gravity is an averaging towards an equilibrium, but it can never reach equilibrium because it's infinite. Infinity can't reach equilibrium. So you might say, well, why is it asymmetrical? Why is the universe, asymmetrical? Why isn't, if it's infinite, why isn't everything just the same energy pressure everywhere? And the reason, according to optimum theory, is because symmetry can only be defined for finite things. But gravity is an averaging. So if you imagine these are two planets, what is the average? It's here, right? So it's averaging. But then why do they spin around each other? Because I'm running out of time. I'm trying to do this within 10 minutes. They spin around because they're averaging towards the past. They're not averaging towards the current location. They're averaging towards their past location because the information of gravity takes time to propagate. You might have noticed that I started this institute, the Optimum Institute. It's on Patreon. Go to patreon.com, type in Optimum Institute. You'll learn more information about it. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff like this. I believe we are the institution that unified physics. And by the way, also solved the biogenesis. There's more information on there. And hard problem of consciousness and AIG. We're very strong into that. Anyway, talk to you later.